Welcome back. You're still watching Morning Live. Now, this weekend is the start of the annual Kwanzaa Afrikan Holiday Festival in Johannesburg. The theme for this year's Kwanzaa is Building Africa's Future, which is motivated by the need to not only talk about the continent. Kwanzaa was first introduced in 1966 as the Pan-African celebration for the unification of the all-African black people, regardless of faith, nationality, background, ideology, language, and birthplace. Now, joining us in studio, a good friend of the show, Baba Buntu, the Executive Director of Ebukosini Solutions. Good morning. Welcome to Morning Live.
Very good morning to you. Thanks
How
for
was the
having me.
25th for you?
It was full of work, a lot of work, but it's so worthwhile because we know what's going to happen today, where the whole family is coming together and we're going to see a lot of people, young and old. So that's a great opportunity actually for us to give some of our energy and work towards the people. Let's talk about the theme, Building Africa's Future. What's the significance of that theme? You know, when we came up with this theme for this year, we wanted an action-oriented theme. Sometimes in our Pan-African settings, we can have a tendency to over-intellectualize and theorize, which is important as well. But I think Africa right now is crying for practical interventions. And I think everyone has a stake in the process of building Africa. We are still at a stage where Africa is very much impacted by its past, things that happened historically to the continent, and we're still in the reparation process. And part of that repair we need to do ourselves. So it's a call for young and old to acquaint themselves with the continent, understand this continent, understand why we are in the situation we are now, and also reflect, are we happy with that? And if we're not, take steps to make sure we get to a place where this continent is empowered and where it's supposed to be. Let's give people perspective and, you know, background. Where does Kwanzaa come from? Okay, Kwanzaa actually comes from this soil. It comes from right here. But the name Kwanzaa, which is a Kiswahili word, which means the first fruits, was kind of introduced through the research of African and African-American researchers in the 60s who were looking specifically for what kind of festivals or celebrations could be observed, especially for people in the diaspora who might have lost their link to the particular place of origin and the language they used to speak. So when we have continued to do that, because you might ask, like, but we know our languages, many people know about their own culture. But I think what has happened increasingly around the continent as well is that many of us are confused about our culture. Many of us have questions about identity. Many of us might live in Africa but might not really understand the continent. So we decided that this is actually a really, really interesting concept, and it's relevant even on the African continent. We might celebrate it slightly different than people do in other parts of the world. We make sure that it really reflects the reality of South Africa, the people from different parts of Africa who live in South Africa. But we felt that it's a platform that brings together both the social, cultural, and political needs of African people in one setting. So what will be happening today? Today there will be the opening ceremony. There are 7 principles in Kwanzaa. It's celebrated for 7 days. So the first principle is unity, and I think it goes without saying why we need that on this continent. And basically, the event today is about there's a ceremony, there's an official opening. There's also programs for children. There's programs for youth. There's an African market. There's food stalls. So it's really a festival where you meet a lot of interesting people, where you get an inspiring program from the stage, where you can eat, where you can shop, African arts, African books. So it's really a totality of African culture and understanding of our continent. And how do you try to make it different each year? Well, you know what? We bring in different people who come on board as volunteers. I must say this, Kwanzaa has existed. This is the 14th year we are doing it in Johannesburg. And this year we know it's being observed in other provinces around the country as well. And part of why it has been successful is that so many people come on board and they want to help. We have a lot of organizations. Our organization, Ebukosini, is just one that has played the coordinating role. But there's so many people who come on board. People say, do you need a vehicle? Do you need this? Can we help you with sound? Can we help you with... So people really come on board, and that's what is the beauty of this festival as well, that it's community owned. It's not a sponsored festival that we just sit and receive checks. It's really a festival that people work for and hold and own. Where? What time? Today we're going to meet in the community of Malvern in Johannesburg, corner 1st Street and Tucker Street. We're going to start at 12, and there's also going to be celebrations. I know there's celebrations in Durban. I know that later in the just across after the weekend, there's also going to be celebrations in Northwest Province and also in Mpumalanga. So people should check websites, social media, and really find out if there's a celebration close to where they are.
All right, Baba Buntu, thank you so much for talking to us.
Thank you so
He's
much.
the Executive Director of Ebu Kosini Solutions, talking to us about this year's Kwanzaa, which is building Africa's future rather. That is the theme for 2050.